Was there anybody Michael Jackson could trust?
If it wasn't for
Today I'm coming back with a new video, a new topic, and it's about Michael Jackson. I know I haven't did a Michael Jackson video in a while, but after months and basically the past 2-3 years of everything that's been going on, I've been thinking about a lot. And I've been watching some Michael Jackson interviews and some like snippets and documentaries, and it led me to this topic. It's this discussion based topic of, could Michael Jackson really trust anybody? And the reason why I thought of this topic is because you look at everything that Michael Jackson has faced, not only the drama, but the controversies and all the unnecessary legal battles and legal drama and everybody trying to sue him left and right. And that's the thing, right? Michael Jackson wasn't just one of the most popular artists in the world. He wasn't just, the popular artist for this year. At one point in history, Michael Jackson was the most famous person in the world. Like, not just in America or on the Billboard charts. No, he was the most famous person in the world. And with all the accolades and all the success, you have this big target on your back. No, you have this big target on your forehead. Like, people are gonna gun after him, come after him. And here's the thing, right? It wasn't only just outsiders, it was people within his circle. That's why I said, could Michael Jackson really trust anybody? Because it's like, you break down all the different things, and it's a few key points I'm gonna hit on that makes you be like, and I know with the let's get into it right now with the allegations and the whole Leaving Neverland documentary. I'm not gonna get too much into it because I made a whole video about it right here. I'm gonna leave it up here. But with all of those allegations, all of that came from, I feel like, I'm gonna give a quick synopsis right here. My opinion, Michael Jackson being too trusting, being kid-like, and he was a big kid, the most famous artist in the world, but he didn't grow up without childhood. We all know that. And he was a big kid. He liked playing games. He liked having fun. And there's the whole thing with, okay, he would let the kids sleep in his bed, his king-size bed, while he slept on the floor. They would have sleepovers. He was a big kid. But the thing is, to Michael Jackson, it was just fun. To the kids, it was just fun. But the parents, specifically the first allegation, the boy's father, he found that as a target. Like, I don't know, I feel like at one point in time, he was just sitting around and thinking about it, and he was just like, wait a second, my son is really having sleepovers with Michael Jackson, the most famous artist in the world? How much money is Michael Jackson worth? I don't know, but I know he's worth a lot. I need a new car. I would like a new house. His album just sold millions. I know he's still making money off of Thriller. Yeah, I'm gonna get paid today. I feel like that was the whole entire idea behind all of that. Like, Michael Jackson was too trusting. Michael Jackson he had his own innocence, but in a way, that childlike innocence was always in him. He was too trusting, and he was too caring. He was so selfless that it ended up hurting him in the end, because he was only trying to help kids, help people, help poverty, help the world, heal the world. Y'all know. But within that process, within this industry, within his circle, you have those snakes. They'll stay around you for a while. They slither around you for a while. You think everything's fine, and then you get striked. You get bitten. And unfortunately, that was the case with Michael Jackson. And now you have all these years later that the biggest, most famous man in the world, the king of pop, now that connection, that target, that label will never leave his name. Even now, I see it all the time. People like, oh my God, I don't want to get into it, but y'all know what I'm going to say. What the names people call him, y'all know. Like, the kids, even though it's Michael Jackson, at the end of the day, they're going to go with their father. They're going to go with the parents, besides Michael Jackson. They going into the Leaving Neverland thing. Like I said, I made that video. It was the same thing, because it's like, you as a child, this happened. And the stories don't add up. Nothing adds up. Like, it doesn't add up. They have the pictures. They have the video footage. So that's like, oh my God. But then they using that in a different context. Because when it was first taken, I bet you it was like, look, I was dancing with Michael Jackson. Look, Michael Jackson invited me to go to Neverland. Or Michael Jackson, you look at it from face value, it's like, oh my God. But then you really research, and if you're a real Michael Jackson fan, you know certain things can add up. But they trivialized it in a way, and they pulled at the emotional strings where it was like, oh my God. And I said this before, people was like, maybe he did do it. I don't know. Here's the thing, right? They had the pictures, they had the video footage, they had the stories and everything like that, and the family interviews. And when you put it all together and they edit it and they pull out the emotional strings, it's like, oh my God. But no, certain things didn't add up. And especially Wade Robson, his story done changed 18 different times. Over the last 20 something years, your story done changed 8 times. He did this to you, but you want to choreograph his Cirque du Soleil show. Like, I need people to if you want to take a documentary, at least research. Look at some old interviews. See if stuff adds up. See if stuff matches up. Because in that case, it didn't. And in many cases, it didn't. But, that's just my take on it. Now, moving on to when I say, can Michael Jackson really trust anybody? Even going into his family. Because, you would think like, oh, we all know everything with his father, and he had the trust issues, and the father was abusive in that aspect, right? But it's like, sometimes even Michael Jackson's family betrayed him. And I feel like the only sibling that really had his back all the time was Janet Jackson. And I'm not just saying that because Janet Jackson she was also the biggest music artist out the family, and they did the song together and all of that. But I'm like, you really look at the support, you look at the interviews over the years, Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, they were like this, right? And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there were a few months or days or years where they probably didn't really speak to each other. Who knows? But I feel like Janet Jackson was the only family member who really supported him. And, he had his mother too, Catherine. But I feel like after a while, the brothers, they just, I don't want to say it was jealousy, because it's like, they was all in the family, they all did their own thing. But I feel like if you listen to some Michael Jackson interviews and you listen to some phone calls that were recorded, another example of him not being able to trust nobody, you realize how lonely he felt. And I'm like, he had all these brothers, he had sisters too, and he felt this lonely. So it makes you wonder, like, could he trust anybody? Could he trust anybody with his opinions? Could he trust anybody with his emotions? Because it's like, you have all these siblings, all this family, and he still felt so lonely. Even going into LaToya Jackson, when all the allegations came out, and she was in an abusive relationship with the husband at the time. She had just did the Playboy and all of that, and she went against Michael Jackson for the husband, trying to like egg on the allegations, saying, oh, she believes it. And what grown man sleeps in the bed with a kid? It's just like, wow. And now it's a different story. After he's passed, it's a different story. But it's like, you really look at it, it's like, who could Michael Jackson really trust? This leads into the next aspect of this, the media. Now, the media is definitely not worth trusting, but I feel like Michael Jackson, at a certain point in his career, especially after those allegations, even then before, he was very selective of who he did interviews with. Like, he's Michael Jackson. He's not just going to do an interview with anybody on any news channel or any media outlet. He was selective with who he did interviews with, but they still came back to bite him in the back years, months, weeks later. Biggest examples, Oprah and Martin Bashir. And now Oprah did that interview with him, the big, it was a big event, prime time event. Oprah and Michael Jackson, she did the photo shoot, she went to Neverland, she, sat in his theater as he did the moonwalk, and she clapping on, and she's so excited and ha ha ha. But then all these years later, you like go behind his back and you like egg on this Leaving Neverland documentary, and you have a whole interview, sit down interview with the victims, trying to have this whole conversation about those type of allegations. Now, this is not for anybody that's ever went through that. You know, you're in my prayers, and this is not towards you. But if you really watch that documentary, it felt like so fabricated. But I felt like she used that documentary and she tried to bring in like real people that experience things like that, real pain, real emotional pain, real physical pain, memories that they would never get rid of, and she like sensationalized it. And you use Michael Jackson's allegations and his story like she betrayed him. And I'm not saying that Michael Jackson and Oprah was close, or they was the best of friends, because I remember when Michael Jackson first passed, it was like a week later, Oprah had some type of special like episode for Michael Jackson, and she was sitting there. This is 2009, a few days or weeks after he passed, and I remember she was like, when I went to interview Michael Jackson, it was a great thing, and it was a big event, and I was kind of excited, but I didn't think too much into it. Like, to me, I was just trying to get the interview. Everybody is so Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson. All I was really focused on was getting the interview and asking the tough questions. So I'm like, wow, that was all a facade. It was all fake. And you could tell Michael Jackson, he trusted her because he agreed to do the interview. He invited her to his house, onto his property, into his intimate, private enclosure. And all these years later, you just bite him in the back over a documentary. It's like, wow. But a lot of different people, Harvey Weinstein. You ain't doing no documentary on Harvey Weinstein, but you're going to make a whole big thing about Michael Jackson. 25 years ago, you was in his house interviewing him and clapping and dancing with him. Okay. Oprah can't be trusted. And it's sad that Michael Jackson thought he could. Now, Martin Bashir, that's another one. This is into the 2000s. Michael Jackson agreed to do an interview with him. He sat down with him. He took him on tour. He gave him a nice private itinerary of everything he does. He let him follow him around. He did the interviews asking him about his childhood, about the music industry, and everything like that. But when it aired, I bet you Michael Jackson was just like, okay, whatever, I did the interview, let's see. He showed all the different things he did. When Michael Jackson was going shopping for paintings and he had the red shirt on, But then, all of a sudden, Michael Jackson has an interview with like the little boy, and all of a sudden, that's when everything turned and flipped, and it was like the music changed, and all of a sudden you hear Martin Bashir in the background, his voiceover, like, this is where it becomes a little awkward. This is where it becomes weird. Jackson saying there's nothing wrong with sharing a bed. And it's like he really like honed in on it. Like, same thing with Oprah. Even though when he did the Oprah interview, the allegations hadn't come out yet. But the same thing. He sat there and convinced Michael Jackson he was really caring and really paying attention and really sympathetic to his situation. I'm gonna ask him about his childhood. I'm gonna ask him about what's growing up in the music industry. I'm gonna ask him about the abuse his father gave him. I'm gonna ask him about his treatment. I'm gonna ask him about the plastic surgeries. But okay, I really want to know about him and these little kids. And that's what really that's the moment of the documentary that he really focused on and like really honed in. And it's like, wow. All these, like I said, Michael Jackson was really selective who he did interviews with. And look how they do him. Martin Bashir, just weeks later when it aired. Oprah, 25 years later. Who can you trust? And then you could say that's why he had such a connection to kids. It was the innocence, and most kids didn't care that Michael Jackson, he was just a fun person. But when you're the biggest artist in the world, you have so much money, you become a target. And especially with Michael Jackson's childlike innocence, he was an easy target. And I felt like in most people's minds, it was like, this is too good to be true. Like, oh my God, we gonna make some bank. Oh, we going to the bank with this. We cashing out with this. And I feel like a lot of people who believe those allegations, this is just my take on this. A lot just take it for face value. They don't really dig deep and look beyond. Look at old interviews. the FBI, every government agency went through his whole house. They was following him, tracking him, investigating him, secretly watching him. They done raided his whole mansion, everything. They didn't find out one evidence to convict him. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. Come on. Like I need people to, because every once in a while there's something with Michael Jackson. Here comes somebody. Oh, he still messed with kids. He did it. Whoo! Wow. I'm not saying that Michael Jackson was the most perfect, most innocent human being ever just because he was Michael Jackson. He was so childlike, but he couldn't really trust anybody to the point where you can go on YouTube and search Michael Jackson private phone calls. If it's a private phone call, why are we able to hear the whole thing on YouTube? He thought he found a confidant in certain people, and this is supposed to be private conversations. You know, not the Michael Jackson he gave to the cameras, to the media. This is the real Michael Jackson behind the curtains. You know, when the show is over, he's in his hotel room, just relaxing, talking on the phone with whoever these people were at the time. You know, these non-famous people. And we're able to hear the whole conversation on YouTube. Like, Michael Jackson could not trust anybody. And it's sad because it's just like, wow. You have all this talent, you have all this fame, you have all these accolades, all the success. You broke history, you broke barriers. Legend, iconic. But you become the biggest target. And the way that the industry and certain media outlets and certain people have tried to like really degrade him and take down his career and really try to defame him is absurd. It's absurd. Especially after his death. That's why I say Michael Jackson, he couldn't trust anybody. Do y'all agree with me? Do y'all agree with me in the sense of the people around Michael Jackson and how he couldn't trust anybody? And what is y'all take on, you know, not only the allegations and everything, because we all know, we all have our own different stories, we all have a different perspectives, we all have our different opinions, but what is y'all take on that? Do y'all think Michael Jackson could really trust anybody? Because I don't. And if you think he could, who? Because you could say children, but look what happened. Trusting children and the parents is what got him in those big controversies. So that's my take on it. What is your take on Michael Jackson's ability to trust anybody in the industry, not only in the industry, but in his personal life? Let me know down below in the comments. This should be a really interesting discussion. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see y'all in the next video.